Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome to Retro Rewind, where I take a look at a TV show or topic from the 1990s to the early 2000s. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of a run here of what I consider to be the best sitcom or just TV show in general episodes of TV shows or sitcoms. And because I handpicked three of these when I was going through, and I realized I think these are the best episodes of those shows, and so you know there's four of them actually. You count Friends, but we are talking about Scrubs, season 3, episode 14, My Screw Up. Now, those of you who are a fan of the show know what episode this is, and know why it could be considered the best. But for those of you who don't know what Scrubs is, I'll run down a little bit. Scrubs is centered on a group of doctors in a hospital known as Sacred Heart. I'm not sure if they ever tell you where it's located, but we follow a group of doctors, specifically JD, or John Dorian, as his name is, as he's sort of an intern and later a resident. He becomes a full doctor but throughout the series. And his best friend is Chris Turk, known mostly as Turk, who at this point is engaged to his longtime, well, 2 seasons worth girlfriend of Carla Espinosa. And then there's Elliot Reed, who is the on again, off again, sort of the Rachel to JD's Ross, in a way. And at this point, he's dating some guy named Sean. He's not in the episode. But there's also the janitor who hates JD because he thinks that JD got a penny stuck in the door on the first day there, so he holds a grudge. He's constantly going after him. This episode, though, he only has like one scene, which works for the episode when you really get into it. And then there's Dr. Cox, played by John C. McGinley, whose range in this series can go from really funny to really serious. He's good at everything. He's one of the best actors on this show. And he's the would-be mentor of JD. He often resists everything to do with JD. I'm not your mentor, the whole thing. And then there's Dr. Kelso, who is an antagonistic force for everyone, but mostly Dr. Cox. He's the head doctor guy. I can't think of his name. And yeah, I think that's all you need to know for this. Dr. Cox, basically, it's just the going on at this hospital. There is Ted, who is the hospital's lawyer, but also has a acapella band, and that I have to mention that. I think I would have to because that's prevalent to the episode. And then there is Jordan, Dr. Cox's ex-wife, who he has gotten back with, and they have a son named Jack, who's turning 1 year old in this episode. In season 1, we met Jordan's brother, Dr. Cox's brother-in-law and best friend, played by Brendan Fraser. And early on this season, we met her sister, Danny, played by Tara Reid, who was dating JD, and by this episode, they're not. Yeah. So this whole entire episode is like a whole misdirect. Like the first time you watch this episode, unless you're really super smart like Einstein, okay, it wouldn't click in your head what's going on. They present everything to you on the screen. But it's one of those things where on a second watch, or second, or third, or fourth watch, I don't know how many times I've watched it, so I love it. You do catch on to certain things. So yeah, they're getting ready to celebrate Jack's first birthday. That is Dr. Cox and Jordan's son. His first birthday. And then you have her whole family is in town, which is just her siblings, I guess. And I guess Ben always makes a grand appearance. He jumps on top of the car, scaring JD into a bushel of roses, where he gets the thorns and everything. And we get a whole bunch of fast-paced comedy in this whole opening. It just shows you how funny Scrubs can be, because, the reason that I love this episode so much, why I think it's the best, is because it has the perfect mix of comedy and seriousness. When I can go from one moment laughing my ass off to then crying my eyes out, it is. And I knew it was coming. So it works. Imagine how it would be if you didn't know it was coming and all of a sudden it just hits you, right? Yeah. So there are several subplots to this episode, but the main one is that it's going to be Jack's birthday, and Ben has had leukemia before, and he is neglected to, like 2 years ago he had leukemia, and he's neglected to get that checked up on. He's like, I don't sweat it. He leaves JD in charge. JD also has another patient, and who he knows is going to die. So, well, everything's going to be fine. And his inner monologue is like, oh my God, he's going to die. And Dr. Koch is like, I have to go run out. I have to bail out the party performer who got arrested. I guess that because Jordan really wants him to perform at Jack's birthday party for a 1-year-old who doesn't exactly know what's going on in the world right now. And so JD has to take Ben to get the testings and everything. And he says about the patient, he's like, he's not going to die in the next 30 minutes. That sort of thing. In two subplots, Elliot has a huge growth on her foot and needs to get it taken off because she doesn't want Sean to see it. And in trying to talk her into keeping it, Turk inadvertently volunteers himself to get rid of his mole. Because he's like, well, if Claude had anything that she didn't like, I would hesitate to get rid of it. She goes, I don't like your mole. He's like, what? So he's got to get rid of his mole. Right? So that's his plot line, is he has to get rid of the mole, and then he tries to convince Carla, because she said before she doesn't want to take Turk's last name. She wants to keep her last name because it's her identity. And he's like, so he goes, she's trying to search for something. Maybe I could convince him to get rid of it if I give him something in return. And he's like, I'll shave my mole if you take my last name. She goes, that's perfect, I'll do it. And he's like, wait, what? That sort of thing. And at one point they couldn't find Carla, and this is when the janitor is brought in for his one scene. There's also a running gag where one of Ted's bandmates has left to go solo, and so he's trying to find solace in people. And the running joke here is that Dr. Kelso just wants to eat his damn cake. And people just keep interrupting him when he's going to eat his cake. It's like carrot cake one day, the next day it's chocolate cake. Man cannot get his cake without being interrupted, although it does lead to a moment between him and Carla in the supply closet where he equates this, he compares this moment to with his wife, where she would snore and he had to get a surgery, but it made things worse, and now he can't get to sleep without her snoring. And if you ever found a woman, like a Japanese woman or whatever, that would snore like Edith, then he would marry her in a heartbeat. And so she stops the procedure from going on. I've been talking about the side plot stuff because we need to get to the main stuff all in one shot. So Dr. Cox comes back from bailing out the party performer, and JD just says this. He goes, 20 minutes after you left, he went to cardiac arrest. He didn't make it. And as a result, Dr. Cox becomes disheveled. You can tell that he's not shaving. He takes all of JD's patients because he doesn't think JD can handle it. And, and he's just down. Ben shows up to try to comfort him and say, hey, you can't blame him for this. It's not his fault. You can't take all his patients and they keep talking about, we have to go. You have something you have to do. I'm not going. You have to, you can't disappoint them. You can't do that. That sort of thing. And the whole episode is just him them talking to each other. Ben trying to convince him to forgive JD, to, that sort of thing. And this is all, you watch this without knowing the twist, without knowing what's going on, and you believe this is all leading to Jack's birthday party. They're gonna go to the party. He's gonna forgive JD. He does forgive JD. We get a gag moment where he comes out in a towel and it drops, and he's wearing shower shorts. And there's even a shower wallet, which always confused me. It's like, shower wallet. Why would you need a wallet for the shower? You're not gonna have your money with you. I don't know. It's just so you can go. It's attached and go. Oh, ow, whatever. But yeah. So he forgives JD because it really wasn't his fault. And yeah, everything seems hunky-dory. Birthday party, right? And but everybody seems. This is when you could probably start to sense something, because everyone's getting dressed up in suit and tie stuff, and they're at this place where it looks like where the party is, and Ben is there. He's like, "You're not dressed up? I am dressed up. Look at me. I look really good." By the way, Brendan Fraser is probably at his best here. I mean, the man just won an Oscar, but he is fantastic in this episode. He comes off as goofy, and when there's serious moments, he's really serious. There's a moment where Elliot comes up to Dr. Cox after he just compared all the doctors that are being puppets, and you have Elliot doing that. Not Elliot, what's his name? Ben. You have Ben doing this behind her as she kind of, and they had to get that exactly right. But he's just like, Dr. Cox is laughing at it, and there's a point she turns around and looks, and he's like, and he just goes back to do it after she turns around, and all this stuff leading to this twist where they're not actually going to Jack's birthday party, but it's actually, in reality, Ben's funeral. Because it wasn't the patient that died, it was Ben, who went into cardiac arrest 20 minutes after Dr. Cox left. Yes. The line, he's not going to die in the next 30 minutes, was supposed to be sort of a joke towards the patient, so that when he comes back and said it was only 20 minutes, you would think it was the patient. And the framing of this episode is so good, because you don't realize when you first watch this that Dr. Cox is the only one talking to Ben. It's not until we watch it when you realize that no one else is really interacting with Ben. There's the one moment with Elliot, but she never says anything. She just turns around and looks. For all we know, she didn't see anything there. So, it's brilliantly done. It is fantastic. Like I said, I go from laugh my ass off at the shower shorts bit to cry my eyes out at this funeral, just because it works so well. The direction as well, just the idea. You go into this episode not knowing anything about it, other, than the characters and stuff. And you watch this episode, and when you get to that twist, it's just, it works. It really works. It is great. This is why this is one of the best episodes. And yes, the next episode does touch on the aftermath of this with Dr. Cox. I'm not going to talk about that because it's a separate episode. This is the episode I wanted to talk about. But yeah, and in the end, I guess I forgot to mention Carla does. I think I did. Carla does stop Turk from getting his mole removed. He's going to get her foot thing removed, and she's going to be Mrs. Espinosa. And then she kisses the mole, I guess. But yeah, this was great. And they even signify that Dr. Cox is finally dealing with this by the fact that you have Jordan like hugging him, right? And then you see JD put his hand on his shoulder, and they do a close-up of his face, and he's finally crying. He has tried to deny this throughout the entire episode. This is him finally coming to terms with the fact that this has happened, and he's finally dealing with it. He's crying. But he even tells Ghost Ben, I guess, you can't stop me from getting drunk. I think that goes in the next episode. But yeah, this great episode. So what are your thoughts on this episode? In the comments below, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I had a few more of these best episodes I want to do. The next one, I'm going to tell you what show it's from, but I'm not going to tell you which episode, although by telling you the show, you might know which episode. It's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And if you already know what episode I'm going to talk about, it's personal to me. It's personal to a lot of people who grew up without this certain thing in their life. And can't wait to talk about it. So, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.